Money makes promises, but blood makes payments. Every empire, every revolution, every fragile piece you've ever studied carries a hidden ledger, an invisible balance sheet written not in ink, but in suffering. And at the center of that ledger is a network so vast, so quiet, and so deeply rooted in the global economy that most people will live their entire lives believing war is something that happens over there, far away, irrelevant to the world of finance, until they follow the money. Because the truth is far darker. The modern financial system didn't grow out of stability, it grew out of conflict. It grew out of the weapons deals made during the Cold War, the resource plunder of collapsing colonies, the gold shipments flown out of war zones under diplomatic cover, the arms contracts disguised as development aid, the loans negotiated in hotel suites while cities burned outside. It grew from men who understood that chaos is not a tragedy, chaos is an opportunity, if you know how to price it. In the early morning hours of any active conflict zone, when the smoke settles just long enough for silence to feel dangerous, there is always someone counting, someone calculating, someone moving resources from one set of hands to another for a fee large enough to erase whatever conscience they once had. A warlord signs a deal for rifles. A banker signs a letter of guarantee. A government signs an agreement it will deny ever approving. 3 signatures, 3 lies, 1 network, a network that turns bodies into commodities, suffering into liquidity, territory into collateral, and human lives into something far colder, an asset class. You have heard about black markets, you have heard about corruption. But this is something else, bigger, older, systemic. This is the blood money network, and once you see how it works, you will understand why war never really ends. It only reinvests itself. Most people believe wars begin with ideology, with politics, with anger, with history, but wars begin with financing. Before the first bullet is fired, someone has already calculated the cost of each body, someone has already arranged the funding channels that will carry the conflict forward, someone has already secured a supply line disguised as humanitarian aid, or a shipment disguised as industrial equipment, or a loan disguised as development assistance. Because war is not chaos, it is a business model. And the blood money network is the engine behind it, not a single organization, not a shadow government, not a cartel. It is something far more efficient, a 3-layered ecosystem where each layer depends on the other. The first layer is the warlords, the creators of instability, the ones who control the mines, the checkpoints, the oil fields, the forced labor, the smuggling routes. They generate the raw materials of conflict, diamonds, oil, gold, cobalt, cocaine, rare earths. The second layer is the banks, the architects of invisibility. They convert illicit resources into digital wealth through offshore accounts, correspondent networks, commodity desks, and trust structures built specifically to blur origins. The third layer is the empires, the nations that legitimize everything by weaponizing conflict for geopolitical advantage. They fund coups, empower militias, and sign trade deals with leaders they publicly condemn. And when these 3 layers converge, war stops. Being a breakdown of order, it becomes a marketplace with buyers, suppliers, margins, and profit forecasts, a marketplace where every atrocity has a price, and every price has a buyer. The blood money network doesn't survive because it is hidden, it survives because it is useful, to generals, to governments, to corporations, to the global financial system itself, and now we enter that system from the ground up. Conflict zones are not lawless. They have laws, brutal, efficient, and enforced with the precision of corporations. Warlords do not operate in chaos. They operate in markets. Their product is not ideology, not liberation, not protection. It is extraction. Take diamonds in West Africa. A single suitcase can hold millions in stones dug from earth by children who will never understand the value of what they touch. Those diamonds cross unmarked borders, slipping into the hands of brokers who know exactly which customs officers to pay. By the time they reach Europe, they have been transformed from objects of suffering into objects of desire. The refinery melts the past. The vault certifies the future. No document mentions the cost in human lives. Or, take oil in the Middle East. During civil wars, every ceasefire is a negotiation for control of a pipeline. Militias rotate shifts like employees of a corporation, guarding pumping stations with the same discipline multinational firms demand from their security contractors. Tankers sail under flags of convenience. Liberia, Panama, the Marshall Islands, never revealing who truly owns the oil inside. It arrives on global markets blended with legitimate crude, indistinguishable, profitable. Or take the cocaine gold cycle of South America. Cocaine moves quickly, liquid cash in gunmetal form. Gold moves slowly, wealth that can be stored for decades. Militias use one to fund the extraction of the other. They sell cocaine to buy excavators, fuel, mercury, explosives. They mine gold from rivers and mountains, ship it to bullion dealers who melt it into bars stamped with new identities. A warlord can lose a battle and keep his fortune, because gold is the only passport that never expires. And now, the newest frontier, cobalt lithium. Rare earth minerals buried in regions where governments barely exist. Mines controlled by men with two phones, one for negotiating with foreign buyers, one for instructing armed groups which villages must be evacuated to maintain access. These minerals power smartphones, electric cars, satellites, drones. The green economy is built on pits of red soil. Every warlord follows the same formula: seize, extract, transport, convert. Seize a region, extract its resources, transport through smuggling routes, convert into cash or weapons. The cycle strengthens itself with every revolution. More guns, more fighters, more loyalists, more bribes, more access. But the warlord cannot complete the journey alone. His wealth means nothing until it is recognized by a bank. His diamonds must become dollars. His oil must become credit. His gold must become an account balance in a city he has never visited. The warlord creates capacity, the banker creates legitimacy, and that is where the second layer begins. Banks pretend to be neutral institutions. They are not. They are the infrastructure of global power, carefully engineered systems that can move billions across borders faster than a gunshot crosses a battlefield. A warlord cannot wire money, but a shell company can. A militia cannot open a bank account, but a trust in the British Virgin Islands can. A dictator cannot purchase weapons with cash, but a commodity trading firm in Dubai can sign the paperwork. Correspondent banking is the lifeline. A small bank in a conflict region connects itself to a major institution in London or New York. The major bank clears the transactions. The money flows. The flags change. The names change. The origins fade. In compliance files, everything looks normal. A mining company paying a logistics firm, a government agency purchasing fuel, a development project receiving funds for local security services. But behind every invoice lies a battlefield. Gold laundering is even simpler. Melt the bar, stamp a new certificate, ship it to a refinery with a reputation. Once refined, all gold becomes equal. No refinery prints the story of how it was mined, who was displaced, who was killed. Humanitarian aid can be diverted with astonishing ease. Food convoys require security fees. Construction projects require local partnerships. Medical supplies disappear before they reach hospitals. Every stolen shipment becomes capital for the next offensive. And then there are private wealth departments, small, discrete units inside major banks that specialize in managing the fortunes of the world's most sensitive clients. These departments do not ask where money comes from. They ask how much needs to be protected. The system works because responsibility is fragmented. No one is guilty. Everyone is involved. And when the money emerges clean, it moves to the last layer of power. The world's strongest nations do not merely tolerate the blood money network. They depend on it. Modern empires do not seize land. They seize leverage. And leverage requires instability in the right places, at the right times, managed with the right intensity. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union ran parallel financial ecosystems. Each supported dictators who offered access to minerals, oil, or strategic locations. Each armed rebels, willing to bleed for ideological narratives crafted thousands of miles away. Every war became a balance sheet entry. Every proxy conflict became an asset. Oil became the currency of American empire. The petrodollar system ensured that global demand for energy became global demand for dollars. Wars in the Middle East were justified publicly through diplomacy, but privately through economics. Pipelines became geopolitical arteries. Whoever controlled them controlled the flow of capital. The Soviet Union financed its allies through ruble-denominated loans backed by future mineral rights. When the USSR collapsed, its weapons, networks, and gold reserves didn't disappear. They were privatized. Oligarchs became gatekeepers to resources. Western banks became custodians of their fortunes. Europe built an empire of consumption. Its industries required cobalt, tungsten, and rare earths. Its environmental laws pushed mining activities out of sight and out of mind. Outsourced to regions where environmental protection was irrelevant, stability wasn't necessary. Access was. China observed these patterns, refined them, and created the modern hybrid empire. Half financial, half infrastructural strategic loans wrapped in silk ribbon. Ports built with the expectation of future debt defaults. Railways that carried resources outward and influence inward. No blood spilled directly. All costs outsourced. Empires don't need to start wars. They only need to shape them. And the blood money network is the chisel. People imagine the present is different from the past. They believe we live in a regulated world, a world of sanctions, global institutions, diplomatic norms, but the blood money network has not disappeared. It has adapted. In Ukraine, sanctioned commodities still find their way to global markets through reflagged ships, silent ports, and intermediaries with no national identity. Gold travels by private jet. Oil changes origin with the stroke of a pen. Governments condemn aggression publicly while quietly negotiating for energy security. In the Sahel, militias control mines that feed the global tech industry. The same cobalt that powers electric cars passes through checkpoints guarded by men who have never heard the word sustainability. Companies release glossy reports about ethical sourcing while ignoring internal memos revealing exactly where their raw materials come from. Cryptocurrency introduced a new form of invisibility. Money moves across wallets with no borders, no names, no oversight. A warlord no longer needs a broker, he only needs a phone. A private military contractor no longer needs a bank, he only needs a cold wallet. Even humanitarian disasters have financial cycles. When bombs fall, futures markets react. When refugees flee, currencies fluctuate. When ceasefires fail, defense stocks rise. Human suffering becomes an index, tracked and traded. The blood money network thrives because modern societies outsource violence. The products we use, the energy we consume, the convenience we expect, all of it is connected to extraction and exploitation performed far from our sightlines. We tell ourselves we are uninvolved, but we are participants, silent investors in a system built on selective blindness. Every financial system rests on trust. Every empire rests on belief. Every currency rests on faith. And nothing corrodes faith faster than the knowledge that the foundations of prosperity were built from other people's ruins. The blood money network teaches a simple, devastating truth. Money created through destruction eventually destroys the system that stores it. Corruption is not a side effect of global finance. It is a structural component. Violence is not an interruption. It is a revenue stream. But there is a cost, and it arrives quietly. Empires overextend, banks overleverage, societies decay from within, currencies lose legitimacy, people lose trust, and trust once gone cannot be printed, mined, or laundered. History shows the same pattern. Systems that rely on invisible suffering collapse visibly. Systems that externalize costs eventually internalize consequences. The debts accumulated in blood always return for payment, whether in financial crisis, political breakdown, or social unraveling. And when that day comes, the illusion fades. The balance sheets darken, the certainties crack, the systems freeze, and the people who once believed they were distant from the violence realize they were connected to it the entire time, because money built empires, money built nations, money built the global economy, but money built on blood builds illusions, and every time humanity forgets that simple truth,